Hey guys, Jet Sparks here. Happy New Year and welcome to the first edition of Chomping at the Bit for this year. Now, what you are seeing, or probably have already seen, are 35 of the most anticipated films for 2024. And let's be honest here, both for 2023 and even for this year, the pickings, at least for my opinion, aren't very good. In fact, there was like maybe 5 or 6 films I'm actually interested in wanting to see, and the same was said for last year as well. 3 of them being video game adaptations. Those were the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Gran Turismo, and Five Nights at Freddy's. Some of these are unnecessary sequels to films that we have already been well established and well acquainted with over the years. And some make you wonder, why are they even doing this? Oh, right, because Hollywood is artistically and creatively bankrupt at this point. But let's get in and take a look at the slate here. Up first for January 5th, we have Night Swim from Universal and Blumhouse. Now, I know I've recently seen Five Nights at Freddy's from them, and personally, I thought it was one of the better video game adaptations that we've seen in recent years. And again, like I said, 3 of them were from last year, so they done a good job at breaking the video game curse. But Night Swim is, of course, done with a shoestring budget, and of course, it's another haunted film feature. But this time it's dealing with a haunted pool, and it's basically, from what I can tell from the trailer, somewhat is that it's the tale of the dead man's float from Are You Afraid of the Dark? But we'll see how this is going to turn out because I'm looking forward to actually seeing it, and I'm probably going to go see it this weekend for the Saturday matinee price. Next up on February 12th, we have Argyle from Kingsman director Matthew Vaughn, and it follows Bryce Dallas Howard, who is the author of the popular titular character played by Henry Cavill. But now she's been caught up in a struggle between an actual real spy organization and a rival syndicate with the help of an unassuming spy. And it turns out her books have been a predictor for a lot of their activities so they can find a way to stop them. And I know that, if you really are a person that likes Henry Cavill, who was in The Man of U.N.C.L.E., he was also in Mission Impossible. If you like him playing more James Bond-esque characters or playing in spy films in general, this is really kind of be up your alley. Though personally, I'm going to make a pass on Argyle. Okay, on Valentine's Day, we have Madam Web starring Dakota Johnson. And this is one of the 3 Sony Marvel films slated for this year. Oh, yeah, and it also stars Euphoria's Sydney Sweeney, apparently. And I know full well I'm not going to go see this because if we already can see from the trailer, it's going to be some woke girl boss messaging and whatnot. And again, Sony is obviously just pumping all these films out in the hopes that they can retain the rights to the Spider-Man mythos and whatnot. But again, why are you making films about these characters? And I think they're trying to interconnect all of them, like make their own little contained cinematic universe separate from the larger MCU. But again, not having Spider-Man included just does not work. And I just don't understand why it still is. They're still trying to make this thing work. I mean, I saw Morbius back in 2022, and oh my god, seriously, there were points in that movie where I honestly wanted to groan at how ridiculous it was. And also, they had the gall to try to set up the Midnight Suns in a post-credit scene with the Vulture. And I got a feeling we're not going to get a follow-up to that, so definitely a hard pass on Madam Web right there. March 1st, we have Dune Part 2. I'm uninterested into seeing it because, well, again, I never read the original book and I didn't see the first Dune movie, and I haven't even seen the original one from the 1980s, so moving on. March 29th, we have Kung Fu Panda 4 from DreamWorks. And look, we know this is another one of the many unnecessary sequels on this list. But this film is obviously a part of a proven franchise that audiences really, really love. They love Jack Black's character, Poe. So definitely it's something to take your kids to go see. Though I'm not going to sit down for have a watch for this. So, yeah. Okay. Also premiering on March 29th, we have Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And finally, we are at a film I'm actually genuinely, truly excited to see. I loved Ghostbusters Afterlife because it was a nice little final send off to the late Harold Ramis, and it focused on Egon Spangler's family, specifically his daughter Callie and his two grandkids, Phoebe and Trevor. And also, their friend podcast is also returning, along with Paul Rudd's character, Gary Gruberson, as they return to the original firehouse in the Big Apple, along with the OG Ghostbusters crew. And this time, they're going to be facing off against a terrifying new ghostly antagonist who actually kills through fear itself, known as the Death Chill. Now, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this from what I saw in the trailer. So I cannot wait to see this, and March cannot come soon enough. Moving into April, on the 12th, we have Godzilla X Kong hit theaters, and this is the newest entry to Legendary Pictures' MonsterVerse series. I did see Godzilla vs. Kong when it was in theaters during, well, that moment in time I'm pretty sure everybody wants to forget, rather than go watch it on streaming on HBO Max. But after seeing Godzilla Minus One, I may not be too keen on wanting to see anything from the MonsterVerse at this point in time now. Besides, at this point, I'm actually more focused on wanting to see that solar eclipse that's going to be happening on the 8th of October, April. And also, I'm going to be probably attending C2E2 as well. So definitely I got other things to deal with during that month. May 17th, we have It, or an abbreviation for Imaginary Friends. And it's basically Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, but with Ryan Reynolds in it. Nice little family outing, but I don't want to go see this, and I don't really care. I mean, even if he's in it, he can bring a lot of comedy and a lot of, like, ad lib to a lot of the stuff he does. Even that's not enough to get my butt in the seat to see a movie. So move on. May 24th, we have Furiosa, a Mad Max prequel. And look, I don't really care about the Mad Max films, and I never even saw Fury Road, so. But if you're a fan of the films, yeah, you probably may want to go see this. In that same span, during the Memorial Day weekend, we have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes from 20th Century Studios. Well, originally 20th Century Fox, but whatever, they're under Disney now. This is the fourth and final final film of the rebooted saga that started with Rise, Dawn, and War for the Planet of the Apes. And Caesar's ape civilization has pretty much long since taken over, taking place over 300 years in the future. And their ape civilization is now thriving, and now they're just hunting down the last remaining humans that have fully regressed from the simian flu to a more feral state. A new ape leader has risen up and now is enslaving all the other ape clans, and apparently he's done it with remnants of human technology that was left behind. And now there's a lone ape warrior named Noah, Noa, who is hoping to find a way to save both ape and humankind alike. But I'm also wondering one thing about this film. If there's going to be a plot point that involves a nuclear weapon with that movie, it will definitely probably tie the original 1968 film together with this rebooted era. and and most definitely the rest of the original film series. Starting off with June on the 7th, we have a John Wick spin-off movie called Ballerina. Now, again, I know what you're all thinking. I'm sorry, everyone, but I have not seen any of the John Wick films because I don't have the time to do it. But I know if you absolutely love these films, awesome. If you probably are looking forward to seeing Ballerina, awesome. Hope you all enjoy it. On June 14th, we have Bad Boys 4, and all I can say about that movie is keep my damn sequel out your freaking mouth and move on. We're moving on, people. Just no. Will Smith is just like that dude's career's over. It's been long since over. Thanks, Jada. Same day, we have Pixar's Inside Out 2. I never saw the first one, and yeah, I don't want to see more Disney stuff because, again, we already know that, well, for starters, Mickey Mouse's character, Steamboat Willie, for the very first anime feature is now public domain, and we're probably seeing more and more of Disney losing money, though we do know Planet of the Apes may actually help them recoup some money back, but it's not going to be enough. So I actually look more forward to seeing Disney fall apart instead. And on June 28th, we have A Quiet Place Day 1. I never saw any of these Quiet Place movies, so if this is a prequel, again, I could care less. Pass. And for July 3rd, on 4th of July weekend, we have Despicable Me 4. Illumination might as well keep banking on the franchise that put them on the map, so there you go with that. Just put it out there. People will flock to go see it, especially all the Facebook moms. And of course, they can just easily rake in all the dough. So they're going to get a decent return on investment for that movie. And Universal, too. Oh, boy. And on June 19th, we see Twisters, the sequel to the singular and far superior 1996 film by John DeBont. And I have many questions about this one. One, who asked for this? Two, I know Top Gun Maverick was denounced by a lot of people and even myself when it was first announced, or at least I know I denounced it, because why would you want to make a sequel to a film that came out over 20 years ago? Or 30 years in its case. I mean, seriously, I saw Top Gun Maverick like 5 times when it was playing in the theaters back in 2022, and it's probably one of the best films of that year, in my opinion. And they had to seriously slap a plural on the end to make it seem like, yes, this is something new. This is something new and interesting. Instead of one twister, we're gonna have 2 twisters coming at us now. Oh boy. And also, I think somehow they're trying to say this is this is somehow disconnected from the original film. Secondly, if you're gonna make this a sequel, look, one thing. Here's the thing, though. Bill Paxton is dead. Philip Seymour Hoffman is dead. Is Helen Hunt involved in all of this? This is something we all need to know. But apparently, I'm also hearing murmurs that this is probably some statement about climate change or something. Sorry, producers and whoever's writing the film. Sorry, but you freaking The Day After Tomorrow that came out exactly 20 years ago as of this year beat you to the punch with that one. And even more so, what makes this film even more pointless is Warner Brothers actually made another film about tornadoes exactly 10 years ago, back in 2014. Into the Storm pretty much ripped off the plot of Twister, but it spliced in some handycam footage, high school shenanigans, and of course, actor Nathan Kresh from iCarly for good measure, in a vain attempt to not make it too derivative. But the only silver lining I will say about Into the Storm is that he actually met his wife on the set of that movie. So there you go. But again, this is another idea showing that Hollywood is running out of ideas and they're too scared to make something new. or because they don't have any good talented people to make something new and fresh. They either tell them to make something a sequel or try to recycle a plot of another previous movie to not make it look too derivative, as I've stated. Now, July 26th, we have the long-awaited Deadpool 3. I love the first two, but the film has been plagued with production problems, and heck, I'm pretty sure Ryan Reynolds himself had to move heaven and earth at Disney to get this film greenlit, and even convincing Hugh Jackman to return as Wolverine one more time. And we also do know with the Fox acquisition that all the Marvel properties under them are going to probably be incorporated somehow into the MCU. And some people are speculating that Deadpool 3 is going to be a hard reset to the universe. Now, look, I loved the first two Deadpool movies, so I'm probably definitely going to go see it. But I could care less about what's going to come afterward because, again, the MCU is dead, people. You just got to accept it. Nothing else is very good anymore. And plus, I'm pretty sure at this point the superhero fatigue is setting in for a lot of people. But believe me, we're far from talking about comic book related films on this tier list. Not just yet. We're not done yet. Okay, on August 9th, we have a Borderlands movie. Yes, I was just as surprised to see it on this tier list and just in general. Like they actually had the time to get this done. And even then I actually had to quickly look up the casting choices and oh man, this is definitely not going to turn out well. Even also though we have Eli Roth basically directing this, but they got Kevin Hart playing Roland. Yes, comedian Kevin Hart playing Roland. Probably one of the more serious characters of the Borderlands games. And you're going to get a comedian like him. And also, again, you're going to get his 5'4" ass playing Roland. Sorry, I'm just not going to believe it. Another painful miscast, just like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman. So again, a lot of these there are several like game to film adaptations that have happened in the recent years, and I've already mentioned 3 of them that came out last year were actually pretty decent. But Borderlands, Fallout, and the horrible fucking narrative blasphemy that was Halo, I'm definitely gonna just write this off. So I don't even want to even talk about that. And on August 16th, we have Alien Romulus, and I don't really care. Moving on. Ending off August, on the 30th, we have Kraven the Hunter, who is played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. Granted, this is the 3rd time he's played a comic book related character. The other 2 being Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, and of course, he played Kick-Ass. And I honestly think that was probably his best role. But again, Sony is still also trying to make solo films based on Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery and not include the famed web slinger himself. So again, Sony really just are just really going headstrong to try to lose money because they think that this is going to make them money, or they think that this is going to help them retain the rights, even though it has been their most popular quality outside of James Bond. But now James Bond and MGM are now owned by Amazon. Okay, now we're getting closer to Halloween on September 6th. Is Beetlejuice 2. And yes, Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara are all returning with the introduction of Jenna Ortega playing Lydia's daughter, who I'm pretty sure is primarily the reason a lot of people are gonna flock to seeing this film. I mean, if you're already a Tim Burton fan, you probably are gonna see this film. If you liked Wednesday, you're probably gonna go see this film. So yeah, a lot of people are, and I'm interested in seeing it, mostly because of her. But Another thing to also note is that they actually tried to do a Beetlejuice sequel back in the early 2000s, but again, Tim Burton wasn't really feeling up to it at that point, so he basically made the most horrendous script possible involving Hawaii and also time travel, and they actually were going to title the film Beetlejuice Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, and apparently the script was so horrendous that Warner Brothers basically said, yeah, Tim, we're gonna have to politely decline this script here." And he probably did it with smug delights, saying, "Oh, thank God." So again, you gotta really commend him for trolling the studio like that. And I gotta say, stay classy, Mr. Burton. Stay classy. On September 13th, we have Transformers 1. I'm guessing it refers to Gen 1. I haven't seen a trailer yet, and I'm not really a big fan of the Transformers franchise. And we already know that the Michael Bay Transformers got progressively worse over time. And I didn't even go to see Rise of the Beast last year, so yeah. And again, I'm pretty sure they also injected a lot of the woke messaging, even though that film was set in the 90s. I mean, sorry. I mean, I'm not like a big pop culture geek if I'm not a fan of Transformers, which I'm not. I'm sorry. The only known film coming out in October is ugh, Joker 2, Les Miserables, featuring Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. I don't know what to think of this, and I don't want to. And look, I know the first Joker was lightning in a bottle, and it topped $1 billion at the box office through sheer word of mouth. And I personally thought the film was beautifully disturbing because it captured and peeks into the psyche of a mentally unhinged man who becomes crazy and unhinged at the society that's apathetic to such problems of mental illness and whatnot. And I mean, there are points in the film that basically, beat for beat, pretty much was like Taxi Driver, but they're going to make it into an art house musical film, which I do not understand why they would. I mean, something tells me whoever, if the director for the first Joker is coming back for this, I'm pretty sure he or somebody or some other producer must have been sniffing a fuck ton of cocaine that day. Pardon my language on that one. And finally, to round off the trifecta of Sony Marvel films on November 8th, we have the third Venom movie. And I'm really starting to think, look, was Topher Grace's version of Venom that bad from the Sam Raimi films? Like, seriously. I know they actually got him right, and he obviously is dangerous, but again, Venom and a lot of other characters that are part of the Spider-Man mythos were very instrumental in were very instrumental in a lot of Spider-Man's character development and a lot of the plot lines. And I know Venom also has had his own solo outings in the comics, but again, even back when the first Venom film came out, they were already in talks from the current Sony president at the time, Amy Pascal, that they were actually trying to get a Black Cat and Silver Sable film off the ground and trying to break the glass ceiling. But again, these characters, Sony seriously is still trying to bank on these characters just so they think this is going to make them money, because we know Spider-Man was the hot property that made them a lot of money back in the early 2000s. But this is not going to make them money. I mean, I'm pretty sure Venom 2 didn't do as well. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people were pissed because how much they screwed up Carnage. But again, Sony, just like the rest of Hollywood, just loves making money on things they think are going to work, but they won't. And just in time for Thanksgiving, on the 22nd, we have a sequel to Gladiator. Why are you doing this? I mean, I don't know. Moving on. The last four films of the year Moving into December, we have a new Lord of the Rings film. I don't really care. Never really cared for the Lord of the Rings movies. And plus, I'm just not a fan of medieval fantasy. So take that what you will. The same day, we also have a new Karate Kid movie starring both Jackie Chan and the original Karate Kid trilogy, Ralph Macchio. And if Jackie Chan is involved in this movie, are they actually trying to connect the one that had Jaden Smith in it together with the original films? And also, where does Cobra Kai factor into this too? I mean, I know I haven't seen the show. I know, blasphemy for me to say also. But again, how is this all going to be connect? How are they going to try to connect all this together? I don't know, but then again, I'm not interested. And on December 20th, just in time for Christmas, we finally have the long-awaited, anticipated Sonic the Hedgehog 3, where finally we get to see Shadow the Hedgehog. But I'm also wondering what other Sonic characters may appear in this movie. Well, fingers crossed for that. Definitely looking forward to seeing it. And lastly, we have Mufasa. Really? Just a Mufasa movie? Also, are they going to try to do a bait and switch to make Scar seem like he's a sympathetic villain so we can justify that Mufasa wasn't actually the noble king he actually was, and what he did to just push him off into that herd of wildebeest was actually justified? Just trying to make the same sort of treatment as they did with Maleficent and Cruella de Vil. I don't know. I just don't know. But knowing this is Disney, they probably will. How they've been doing their track record. And look, we also do know that, yeah, the Lion King is basically Hamlet, but with lions. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that, and I don't really care. But anyway, guys, that pretty much wraps up all the films we're going to be seeing in 2024. And as I've stated, there's only like 5 or 6 I'm actually interested in. But I'm glad you guys let me rant off a bit, and thank you all for watching. Please comment what exactly films you're excited to see on this list. Subscribe to my channel, and I really hope to see and give you guys more content moving into this year. So thank you all for watching. May God, the Force, and the power protect you always.